Welcome back. I'm Paul Friga, and I'm walking you through the Team Problem Solving Masterclass, all centered around the Team Focus module from the McKinsey engagement. Today, we're going to transition from the team modules to the focus modules, moving into the analytical problem solving. And the topic for today is frame. I will walk through the rules of engagement, specific tactics to help you engage properly, and then finally, walk you through the case study. First, the rules of engagement. The starting point for doing proper framing is to identify the key question. The second step is to identify the information tree. And third is to formulate hypotheses. Let's dig deeper into these. The key question is the starting point for any project. Why are we here? What are we solving for? You want to be specific, but not overly narrow. One of the most common problems is to be too broad as well. So the key question has to be what the client needs to solve, or the company, if you're doing an internal team. What are we solving for? What's the key question that needs to be answered? And once you identify that, you can start gathering some information. The information needs to be gathered. Some call this a phase zero or a basic data gathering and a fact pack creating to give you enough knowledge to formulate hypotheses. You can gather this and you should organize it in a MECE way. MECE stands for mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. Essentially, no gaps, no overlaps. Mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. So you want to break things down. A real common way to start any kind of business project is to look at the 3 C's plus the macro trends. So the company, competition, customers, and macro trends. Start gathering information about this. And you should be able to find basic reports to get you up to speed. You need to gather just enough information, start organizing it in a MECE way so that you have some sense of what's going on and what options are available in terms of levers to push. The next stage is often uncomfortable for some people, but you want to start thinking about the potential answer to the key question. We're borrowing from the scientific method that's been around for centuries in terms of hypothesis-driven analysis. A hypothesis is a potential solution, many times a recommendation, that would help improve or answer the key question. So that's the third step, to identify usually no more than 3 hypotheses, maybe 4. You can identify a bigger list, but then you prioritize. Don't forget the mantra of organize and prioritize. Anytime you're wondering, is our team being efficient and effective? You say, are we organized and are we prioritized? Let's move into some more specific operating tactics for executing this on a project. The key question needs to be based on specific questions and discussions with the client. Sometimes you'll work on a project, and this might change a bit over the course of the project, but you have to make sure that it doesn't broaden significantly. I'll talk about scope creep in a minute. You want to make sure you identify the key question and have agreement from the client or the internal team member that this is what we're solving for. The next tactic, and this is what consulting firms are very good at, is to document the question, document the scope and the high-level plan of attack in what we call an engagement letter or a scope of work letter. This should spell out exactly what you're addressing, how you're going to address it, the timeline, any financial considerations, and other things that might be helpful even from a legal perspective. But you want to document the understanding of what we're doing and how we're going to approach that in a letter. Even if you're doing internal work within a company, you might want to have a memo of understanding in terms of what you're trying to address. Another tactic is to be very specific about the temporal years of study and geographic functions and everything that needs to be parameters of the project. Scope creep is when you start on a project and the client tries to push you into things beyond what you originally agreed to. You have to be very careful about that. And you want to often say yes, but if you do that, it might dilute your current effort and you don't have resources to address it properly. So have honest conversations with a client when they push for scope creep and say, this is what we agreed to study. We could do that, but it requires more resources or more time. So work back to the original engagement letter. Another tactic is to think about a general hypothesis or specific hypotheses, and you want to lay them out, but be ready to iterate them. They are potential answers. And when you test them, they might be proven to be false, or they need to be modified, or a new one will come. So over the course of the engagement, you'll be working on hypotheses, usually assigned to someone on the team that you own this hypothesis, which is essentially a potential recommendation. You're testing it, and you're getting the team's feedback on whether or not it makes sense, and then you'll go back and make modifications to it. But you want to identify all of these in the early stage called frame.